So what happened when a public model train exhibit, sometimes referred to as the eighth wonder of the world, permanently closed and put most of the contents of its layout up for auction? We jumped at the chance to score some unique and vintage pieces for our model railroad collection. Let's show you what we won. Now, located in Allentown, Pennsylvania, the Merchant Square Model Train Exhibit was a really fun family attraction in the Lehigh Valley area that had been around for a lot of years. The exhibit was housed in the similarly named Merchant Square Mall and featured 40 O and HO gauge trains, over 1,000 purchased and homemade structures, subways, elevated tracks, a gigantic amusement park and ski area, even a 24 by 16 foot lake that had a functioning rainstorm. But after declining attendance, the exhibit was shut down for good in early 2022, and the owners auctioned off a majority of the collection in 2023. Now, we were just starting to collect model trains at the time, but we just couldn't pass up this opportunity to try for some really great deals and maybe even own a little piece of model railroading tourism history. Now, I have to say, the auction lots were really overwhelming. There was a lot. So we focused on affordable items, things like figurines and buildings and structures. So we set a reasonable budget, as we thought, placed our bids. And what happened when the virtual gavel came down? Well, did we score some fun and amazing deals? You bet we did. In fact, we got a haul, and that's what we want to share with you today. We got some great gas station trucks and Ertles, Texaco, a ton of really fun custom modified buildings. But this gem right here, a lot of a, quote, large amount of O-gauge people. Boy, that's an interesting one. Now, in part 2 of this series, I'm actually going to take you step by step through all of the buildings that we acquired in this auction and really get you really up close so that you see all of the details of them, including how this exhibit had modified them and customized them to fit on their massive layout. It's really interesting. So be sure you hit subscribe because you're not going to want to miss part 2 of this series where I walk you through all of those buildings. But for today, in part 1, let's focus on this large amount of O-gauge people. Figurines are not exactly cheap to acquire en masse like this. And so how many do you think are in this box? We had no idea what we were getting, if we were going to have a good bargain or not. So we needed to clean them, sort them, count them, and see what we have. So let's get started. First, we set up in the kitchen, got some hot soapy water ready in the kitchen sink, just grabbed a fistful of these people and plopped them right down into that hot soapy water. Gave them a really good swish around. I mean, there's a lot of dust. These things were sitting out on this layout in this exhibit for years and years. So gave them a really good swirl in that hot water and then got all of the dust off, gave them a rinse with some cool water to just clean it all off. And then it was off to a towel on the counter for them to start to dry. And I'm really already loving all of the characters that we see here. A lot of variety, even some duplicates, which I think is going to be really interesting to see as we go through. But look at all of these different faces. These are very fun. I should probably flip over this guy right here so that he's facing up. Those are twins. Noticing too that there's a seated figure as well, which is a great find. Maybe we'll have lots of those. Those are always helpful to have on the layout. Some people who are sitting instead of standing. So I just repeated this process over and over and over again. There, you can see we're starting to work through that box, but there were so many figurines in here. I don't think that I really expected to see how many that we had. Because it was really hard to tell from the box in the online auction. But you can see here, there are hundreds. I thought maybe I was going to get lucky with maybe 200 to 300 figurines. I'm curious to know what you're guessing is going to be here, and I can't wait to really start to sort through them and see what's really there. We even have a little section here of broken pieces, so bases and some arms and legs, so hopefully we'll find the partners for those. But for now, we're just going to let all of these lovely ladies and gents rest and air dry. Don't want to risk damaging them by taking a hair dryer or anything to them. We're just going to let them air dry for a little while. But look at all of the variety. This is going to be a tall task to get them all sorted and counted, but I think it's going to be well worth it when all is said and done. Our layout is not going to be exceptionally big. We know what area we're going to build it in, so I would imagine that we're probably not even going to need all of these figures. This is a lot. And so who knows, maybe in the future we'll be putting some of these up for sale in a big lot as well. So be sure you keep an eye on our community tab in case we ever do want to part ways with any of them. For now, we'll let them rest and let them dry. Once that's done, move them all to the floor to a big, gigantic bath towel. My goodness, would you look at all of those? And now it's time to start sorting them. So we'll start with the ladies, make a giant pile of women. There is a lot. There's a lot of different sizes and shapes and ages and styles. A gigantic pile of women, and then did the same thing with the men. Started separating out all of the men into their own pile as well. And this pile was even bigger. There's lots of different gentlemen represented here. I see a guy eating an ice cream cone right there. It's amazing to see all the different characters already coming to life that you see kind of mixed and matched. But let's really get into what's what. So as we go through the women, we start separating them out into duplicates. And you can see there are some, as we're already getting started, there are a lot of duplicates, and that's kind of fun. We did the same thing with the pile of gentlemen, started separating them out into all of their twins and duplicates, and those piles just kept growing and growing and growing. There were so many to sort through. We do have some seated ladies, different personalities. We have some waitresses. We have some business ladies, some roller skaters. Those are pretty fun. Some ladies dressed for winter, looking very vintage too. That's what I really like about these figures, is they look very retro, very vintage. We even found some couples. So there are some that are already paired together, others that you could mix and match. That's pretty fun. And there's kids too. So we separated those into little girls. And of course, there's a pile of those that started to accumulate, but there was an equal sized pile of little boys that started to accumulate as well. So great to have some kids for the layout. There were also some just kind of random mix and match pieces. You see there's a couple of gentlemen playing chess or checkers. There's a horse, a little dog, fire hydrants, some chairs, a ladder. And then over here are all of the damaged figures that are either missing limbs or bases, and I'll try to match those up with those broken pieces from before. So when all was said and done, look at what we walked away with. Look at this pile. Look at all of these different faces and stories and characters. There are so many here to choose from. I could not believe how incredible this haul was out of this random lot of O-gauge people in this auction. But look at all of that. Look at what it turned out to be. So how many out of this box did we end up walking away with? What was the final tally on this random box? How many people did we actually win from this auction? And I think it's safe to say we'll probably have enough for our layout. Well, when all was said and done, including the extras, there were 258 girls. For the boys, there were 412 gentlemen. And that brought us to a grand total of 751 figures. Unbelievable. Now, if we were to buy those new for retail, you know that those average like $1 to $3 per figure. So if we had bought this new, we would have paid between $750 and over $2,000 to buy all of these if we bought them new from Lionel or Bachman or wherever. So what did we pay for them? Well, we got the entire lot. Our winning bid was less than $150 for the entire box of 751 figures. That equals out to about 18 cents per person. What a deal and what a score and a little piece of history. We just had to clean them, we had to dry them, and then we had to count them and sort them, and that was well worth the effort for what we get to walk away with and get to add to our collection. And don't forget, lots of buildings as well. I can't wait to share those with you in part 2 of this series, so be sure to hit subscribe. You don't want to miss when that comes out. In the meantime, I now have to take this big collection and get this all inventoried because I know how important it is to keep track of every single piece of the layout so that you know what's what and where you've got it and what you paid for it and when you acquired it and all those kinds of things. And if you want to know how I do that really easily in just minutes every day, then check out this video right here, and I'll see you again for part 2 of this series very soon.